Hi everyone, welcome back. In this section of the lectures, we'll take a look into Spring Boot REST API basics, and in upcoming lectures, we'll take a look into building REST APIs for a blog application. Well, in this section of the lectures, I'm going to basically cover important Spring MVC annotations that are required to develop Spring Boot REST APIs. Well, we'll begin with creating a simple Spring Boot REST API using @REST controller and @getMapping annotation. Next, we'll see how to create a Spring Boot REST API that returns a Java bean as a JSON to the client. Next, we will see how to create a Spring Boot REST API that returns a list as a JSON to the client. Next, we will see how to create a Spring Boot REST API with @path variable annotation. Next, we will see how to create a Spring Boot REST API with @request_param annotation. Next, we will see how to create a Spring Boot post REST API using @postMapping and @request_body annotation. Next, we will see how to create a Spring Boot put REST API using @putMapping and @request_body annotations. Next, we will see how to create a Spring Boot delete REST API using @deleteMapping annotation. And next, we will see one important class, that is response entity class, to manipulate the HTTP response. Well, most of the existing students requested me to create one dedicated lecture on response entity class. Hence, I am going to cover response entity in this section of the lecture. Next, we will learn how to define a base URL for REST APIs in a Spring MVC controller using @request_mapping annotation. Okay, in this section of the lectures, we'll learn all these important annotations because these annotations we use while developing the REST APIs for our blog application. Okay, so mainly we'll take a look into REST controller, get mapping, path variable, request param, post mapping, request body, put mapping, delete mapping, response entity, and request mapping annotations. Alright, great. I will see you in the next lecture.